It's really fun when you get to come to something like this and introduce someone who's become a good friend. And Cordia Harrington has certainly become a good friend of mine and of our program, and really is a good friend of all of us who teach entrepreneurship. She has opened herself up and visited many universities, and she comes into our classes all the time and allowed us the honor and pleasure of writing a case study on her business that I hope many of you see us present on Saturday at 3:30, which is also the time the Packers kick off. So I may or may not be there at that point, but I know my co-author will be there presenting that case. And we're so thrilled to have someone like Cordia, and just the time and the generosity she gives to our students is just incredible. I could read a biography of her and bore you to death, but it's in there. But I do want to do one thing. I want to read a little bit of a snippet of something someone wrote about her, reflecting on his year in 2007. He says, I quote, "Throughout 2007, I was also grateful for the opportunity to meet entrepreneurs like Cordia Harrington. A little more than a decade ago, Cordia was a single mom with a dream of starting her own company. Today, she owns a thriving bakery, employs more than 200 people, and calls herself the Bun Lady. One hot day last July, I flew to Nashville to see her factory and meet Cordia. I found a strong spirit of enterprise. Risk-takers like Cordia create jobs and opportunities for their fellow citizens and show the world the power of the American dream." I couldn't say it better. These are the words of President George Bush, who went and visited Cordia and her business and really thrilled the entire city of Nashville and made us so proud that he would pick her business to be one to showcase as truly an example of the spirit of free enterprise and women in free enterprise today. So it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Cordia Harrington.
Thank you. That was so. Thank you. Good evening. I am so excited to be with you here in San Antonio. What fantastic weather we've got. Did everybody have a good trip in? Okay, now you got to liven up a little bit. I'm so nervous being in front of all you fancy pants professors. So if you teach entrepreneurism, stand up. Show me who you are. Okay. If you are an entrepreneur, either keep standing or stand up where you are. Okay, fantastic. Well, I am so honored to be among you talented folks. You are helping so many people realize the American dream, and I applaud you for that. In fact, applaud yourself. Give yourselves a hand. I told you I'm a little intimidated. Well, if truth be known, I am the first in my family to graduate from college. I have my high school principal, Dr. Smith, to thank for the little whisper that said, "You need to go to my alma mater, University of Arkansas." Anybody here from Arkansas? Woo pig! Great place. In 1971, I headed to Fayetteville, Arkansas with my single suitcase and a promise from my father that he would figure out some way that I could stay in school for a year. Well, I liked it in college. It's a lot of fun. So I ran a few little businesses to help pay for the rest of my college. I had a nursery school in my backyard in the summers. I sold photos that I took of kids. Of course, if I did that today outside of schools, I'd probably get arrested, you know. But back then, it was okay. And I taught swimming lessons and, of course, worked part-time jobs. And I remember orientation. Of course, I hadn't been thinking about go to school, so I really didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. But there was a dean there, Dean Hardy, and he's the dean of the Ag Ryan Home Ec. And he said, now you women out there, this is at freshman orientation, he said, you need to be in my college because if you're going to work outside of the home, you need to make sure you know how to take care of your home and family first. Okay, well, anyway, you can tell what the time was back then. I listened and I thought, well, that makes sense. And I also found out in home ec you could have more elective hours so you could take any class you want. And I figured, well, that's just right up my alley. So took 4.5 years and got that grade point over that 2.0 so I could graduate. And I have my home ec degree. So you can see why I'm intimidated by all you folks. One of my favorite classes in college was speech. And I still remember, I don't know where the quote came from, but I used it in practically every speech I gave through all those classes I took in college. But it was something like, celebrate you. You're worth celebrating. In the world, there's only one you, with your talents and your dreams, your thoughts and your ideas, your expectations. And if you think about it, that's what you're embracing. That's what you're teaching to all of the students that go through entrepreneurism. You're letting them know that even though their dream might sound a little crazy to their parents, that they have the right to have that dream and they can make it happen. It would have really been awesome back in that time of my life to have understood that I was just sort of a classic type A personality, perfect entrepreneur, couldn't keep focused, had all these crazy ideas. But I could always hear a little voice inside of myself say, you can do it. Oh, go ahead and try it. You won't look too foolish. Just go ahead and give it a try. Or have friends that would say, go on. I think you can handle it. In fact, today, I'd like to introduce you to a great friend that's in the audience. Cindy Ferguson, will you stand up? Cindy was a voice that helped me start my very first business when Cindy was a young mom, a nurse, and with an 8-week-old baby. She said, if you start a real estate company, we were in Russellville, Arkansas at the time, she said, I'll quit my nursing and I'll join you and we'll start a real estate company. So Cindy, I'm glad to have you here today. I love you. So a single comment, a single word of encouragement can make a difference in somebody's lives. And I bet each one of you have great stories to tell where you've really encouraged somebody. Ultimately, over the years, I've had 3 businesses. As I mentioned, the first one that Cindy sort of pushed me lovingly into was real estate. I was working for another real estate company, but I was pretty rich back then. I had $587 of my own money. Now, that's a lot of savings back in 1971. Used all of it, bought some plywood, and we stenciled that piece of plywood sort of in an arch, and then we stenciled wheat on it. Wasn't that fortuitous? And we called the company Concept One. And we had bartered office space. Johnny King, the doctor in town, let us, if we would rent this office building for him, he would allow us to have a free office space. And so we rented our desks, $3 a month, and our chairs, $1.50 a month. And Cindy, my nurse friend, Sherry, a high school student, Faye, a doctor's wife, and myself, we were in the real estate business. Everybody thought we were crazy. Does anybody remember what the interest rates were in 1981? 18%, right, Jeff? You're exactly right. Now you know why people thought we were crazy. We were the only women-owned business in this great little town. And one of the things they do in a small town is they give you a chance to introduce a new business that might start. And in this case, it was a big meeting. There were about 400 people in Arkansas Tech University's room, and we got a chance to introduce to the community in a 30-second commercial our business. Well, how are we going to get a point across where people are going to, think highly of our new real estate business? What are we going to do? Well, I believe it was Cindy's idea. We went to the local nursing home. We got some white straitjackets. We all put them on, and we went up on stage. And then we sang a little song. And for those of you that aren't old enough to remember this, there used to be a real estate company called Century 21. And they all wore these real classy yellow polyester jackets. You remember them? And there was a song that went, we're taking off our jackets, we're rolling up our sleeves, we're Century 21 or whatever. Well, we just changed the words on that. And we went up in front of everybody in our white straitjackets, and Cindy and Sherry and Faye and I, We just say, you know, we're taking off our jackets, rolling up our sleeves, we're Concept One, and we're here to please. We have new ideas for your real estate needs. We're not crazy, are we? And guess what? We grew that little real estate company real good. Moving on, let me set the stage for the time for getting into the restaurant business. With going back to 1986. Ronald Reagan was president. Who was vice president? Bush, right? Top movie was Out of Africa. Fox News went on the air that year. And a little TV talk show started in Chicago. What was that TV talk show? Oprah Winfrey. The Iran-Contra affair went public, and the Challenger exploded. At home, I was facing a crisis of my own. I found myself divorcing with 3 little boys, ages 1, 3, and 5. You think those housewives on TV are desperate? They did not hold a candle to me. I had to figure things out very quickly. As you know, with your friends in the real estate business, that's very much a nights and weekends business. I had some customers by the name of the Feuerhans, Gary and Madeline. They had a very light work week. They had a quality family life and great income. They were the local McDonald's franchisees. I learned from them how to apply to become, I didn't even know. I mean, growing up like I did, I had no idea you could buy a McDonald's. Hello, I couldn't believe it. And that year I applied, there were over 38,000 applicants. And in the system, there were 28 women owner-operators. This is in 1986. And without exception, they had all inherited them from their deceased spouse. So when I went into those interviews, they would look at me and say, what makes you think you can run a McDonald's? I mean, here I was, divorced mom, 1, 3, and 5-year-old kids, and I'm like, I can do this. I'd never worked at a restaurant before. But I answer back, these are working girls' hands. I can do this. And not only that little voice inside of me, but Cindy and all my friends and my family, you can do this, you can do this. Because my goal was to find a business where I could have more time with my kids. Do you all know anything about buying a McDonald's? Do you imagine I had more time with my kids? Well, in order to get a chance to buy one, you have to become a registered applicant. And what that means is you get to work for free in a McDonald's. Open, close, midday, every shift, every position. You learn how to fix the equipment. And then if you succeed, I was going to say survive, but succeed is probably a better word. You don't get paid while you're doing this, but at the end of that time, if you've passed all of the little tests along the way, you get a chance to go to Hamburger University, where you have to pass with better than a C. And then I did, and so I was very proud to get a chance to own a McDonald's. I loved living in Russellville, and I didn't know I was going to have to move to own my McDonald's. So I'll tell this story for you, Mike, because you like this, but this is a true story. Got approved, got ready to have to go move to close on buying my McDonald's, and literally was scared to death. It was taking every single penny I could beg, borrow, and steal to put down. And the morning I was supposed to load the last U-Haul truck to drive north, you know, I called Cindy and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't leave. I was leaving to go 13 hours away in a U-Haul truck with my 3 sons to move into one of those rent houses. You know, the kind where the boys flush the commode while you're in the shower, all the cold water goes down the toilet and you're scalding, you know, so and that was it. But I'm thankful that I did. As a franchisee, I learned a lot. I became the butt of many a joke, and one of those jokes turned out to be very favorable for me, because the men in my co-op voted to put me on the bun committee. Anybody ever been asked to get on the bun committee? Well, the bun committee It was a committee that audited the bakeries for McDonald's. And so once a quarter, I got to leave my restaurant, get off my feet, that was a good thing, and go to these meetings and learn about flour prices in Russia and sesame seeds in Guatemala and all kinds of great things. And through that experience, I saw these bakeries around the world. I would see bakeries, and I would see professional employees. They weren't 16 years old like the majority of my workforce. And then when I learned that McDonald's needed to build another bakery to manage supply, and they didn't have any women suppliers, that had my name all over it. So I will say that McDonald's didn't get as excited about the idea as I did to begin with. It took them a while, 4 years, 32 interviews. It took them a while to figure out I was the right person to become their new supplier. But the challenge and the dream of being one of the 89 dedicated suppliers to McDonald's, to own a factory with professional employees, that was exciting to me. During that time, as an owner-operator, it was really hard to be patient. I will say that, you've probably worked with people that have left one entrepreneurial gig for another one. It's hard to sort of let go. And letting go of those restaurants, they were profitable, but the idea of starting a bakery company and perhaps becoming an international supplier was a very big dream. In 1997, all the persistence paid off, and I opened the Tennessee Bun Company. It was, at the time, the most automated bakery in the world. 11 people to make 1,000 buns a minute. A lot of buns. And we served a portion of 7 states. Today, the bakery business has grown. If you have a Big Mac in the Southeast U.S. or in the Caribbean or Puerto Rico, it's made by our bakery. If you order a KFC snacker, we make the bun. If there's a bun on your plate at Chili's, you're supporting our company. Nashville Bun, our second bakery, makes English muffins, and those delicious gourmet Wolferman's English muffins, if y'all have ever had those. Anybody had those? They're good. And it served Pepperidge Farm in 40 states, the whole East Coast for Chili's, Perkins, U.S. for Sheetz, Bob Evans, and most recently, O'Charley's. Y'all ever eaten at O'Charley's those little soft dinner rolls that you sit down and they give you for free? We make those. I was 2 sizes smaller about 2 months ago. We only started that about 8 weeks ago. We vertically integrated by adding Bun Lady Transport. Our trucking company have 80 trucks, serve French fries and meat across the country for McDonald's. We've got 2.5 acres of freezer space, bigger than football fields. And we use about 850 million sesame seeds a year, but who's counting? Last year, our little company did over $55 million in a year, and as you can imagine, we're terrifically excited. The reason for the success of this business has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with the can-do people, the friends that I've surrounded myself working with, our management team, and the hourly employees. As I mentioned, we're 10 years old today. When we started, I'm 10 years old in April this past year. As we celebrated our 10th anniversary, we were proud to have 26 of the 35 original employees still with us. In the early days, we would have to reward our employees with crazy things like washing their car and cooking them food and doing simple things to let them know we appreciate them. Today, we're more able to give cruises, trips, cars, fine pay, and nice bonuses. I'm proud to say that 15 of my previous employees and friends have become McDonald's franchisees. Cindy, my girlfriend sitting over at the table, she owns 12 in Austin. You go, girl. And I think Aren't you buying 3 more this year? Yeah, so she'll have 15 this year. I'm going to have to get a loan from you. And all of her children have become franchisees as well. So it's been a thrill for me to help others become an entrepreneur. There have been others that have gotten into other businesses that I've helped support, but the McDonald's franchisees, they've got my heart. And they buy my buns. Self-serving, right? We feel like it's really important to give back to the community, and we're not only involved in local community activities, but 16 Ronald McDonald houses around the southeast U.S., which is a home away from home for children that are sick for their parents to stay. And the joy of my business is really helping other entrepreneurs get started. And I keep on a weekly basis or a monthly basis about 10 entrepreneurs that we try to help get launched, and they get going, and then we start on some others. That's a real thrill, because unlike what you offer to entrepreneurs today, some of us didn't have the thrill of your wisdom and your education. I just think it's such an awesome organization, and I love to see you all network, because one sentence you make to somebody can make a difference in them getting to live the American dream like I have. And that's a lot of responsibility, and it's a lot of thrill on your part, I'm sure. One of the things you need to be sure and tell these folks is that they've got to take time to enjoy their business and what they've created. I will tell you that, honestly, just this past year, is the first time that I've sort of gone, okay, well, maybe we're not going to go broke. That constant, did you buy 2 boxes of paper clips or 1? We only need 1, Being scared about the money, that's a scary thing. But this past year, I did take time, and my husband, who was my CPA and has now been my husband of 10 years, and I went around the world, and that was exciting. In addition, as you already know, Jeff told you that we got a call on a Friday afternoon at 5:30. Our legislator said, "Are you going to be in town? We want to bring a guest to your bakery next week." I said, "Okay, no problem." "Well, you need to be there." "Well, I can't. I'm going to be in Puerto Rico. We're starting up that market." "Well, you need to be there." And so I said, "Well, look, let me know for sure if they're coming, and who is it?" "Well, we can't tell you." Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I was joking with the people and said, "Hey, if it's a president, I'll stick around." And they said it is, and I was like, "You're kidding." So within a few hours, literally, they sent the advance team from the White House to Nashville, and they stayed with my husband and I for the 4 days leading up to the visit. And believe me, if you walk through the bakery, you're the only thing that didn't get painted. Everything got painted. We put new flowers up. It was crazy. And it was such a thrill the morning that he came. And I've got a little, very quick, 2-minute video I'd like to show you, because you'll get to see one of the insides of our plants. And is that okay with you? Would you like to see it? Okay, great. So you can't, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, to have all that Secret Service and all those machine guns and all those people there, it's a thrill. So let's turn this thing on.